Hey everybody, it's Seth and Paul for the Learn From Us podcast. On this episode, we talk about why the stock market and the economy are not syncing up, Paul. The stock market keeps going up and up and up, and the economy goes down, down, down. We talk about all the ins and outs about the economy and why Paul's thoughts on where the hell it's going and what to do.
And how much we hate socialism, like
Paul,
we always talk about.
Yeah, stop it, Paul. Damn it, Paul. Damn it.
We did talk
on the Learn From Us podcast. Join us now. Boom. Oh, we have big news.
What's our big news, Seth?
I'm losing a little weight, and I know.
Are you?
I know our viewers can tell.
Are you really?
Well, I did upwards of in April. I did about 3,000 extra burpees and push-ups.
What was your weight April 1?
About 272.
Was it really?
Yeah.
270?
Is that a lot or a little?
I mean, I didn't think you were 270. What are you now?
About 269. Now, the funny part is, at times, listen, I'm not going to pull up no matter what I eat, no matter what I do, but like I weighed 263 as a sophomore in high school.
I know.
Some people, Leon's getting larger, I feel like I'm doing okay. But anyway, the big news is, Paul, what?
Our table.
Look at this thing.
We have a new table, folks. Please go on YouTube.
Amish built
and bred.
It looks stunning.
Looks wonderful. They're former Amish. They did the whole Rumspringer. Is that what it's called?
Probably, but what a funny ass word.
I know.
Rumspringer.
They left.
Yeah, so the boys came and dropped off the podcast table. They have that Pennsylvania Dutch accent. I don't know if that's an accent, but it's really, I love it. It's interesting.
It's great. We're going to have them on the podcast.
Yeah.
We need to have them on the podcast. I want to ask them about this whole leaving the Amish thing.
Leaving and how it works and all that.
I watched Waco, by the way, speaking of Amish.
I watched it from start to finish, Paul. In fact, on one Saturday. Now, that show's 3 years old.
No way.
It's not new. It's like from 2017 or something.
Come on.
That's what I thought. I don't know why they fired it back up. Maybe like conspiracy theorists would love it.
Or because we're all sitting at home doing nothing, so everybody's like, okay, let's do this.
I watched it.
Lisa buys 100% into the whole, the government totally lied. These people were all great. They weren't doing anything. I'm like, Lisa, would you stop, please?
What do you think?
So do you remember when it went down?
Yeah.
I remember when it went down. You know my view on.
I didn't know it was that long of a standoff. I thought it was just a couple days.
No. I remember the whole thing went down. I remember it was going on and on and on, and then all of a sudden one day they're like, yeah, they're on fire. I didn't know that they killed, that there were bullets and shot, I didn't know that Koresh was found with a bullet in his head, and I didn't know that. I thought they had just all burned to death.
Yeah, I didn't know why they burned to death, but they sort of portrayed how they got stuck in the building and you're spitting all over the table.
No, this is actually dust, because we haven't cleaned the table yet.
It was so Beth and I watched like 3 episodes on a Friday night, and then on Saturday when we were supposed to wake up and be parents, from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. we didn't move and finished the whole series.
Your kids are starving.
We looked like at each other like, well, I hope those 2 monkeys downstairs are okay. So big news. But I started the podcast because I started thinking that you've been saying for a long time the economy was going to collapse. I'm sorry.
I don't think I said that.
No, would dip. Again, you listen to my words more than I do.
Well, I want everybody to understand that I do believe in stocks and in economics. I feel like there's just patterns. What are the patterns? I mean, there's just a way that things are going to go about. Is it going to go about the exact same way? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. But I just felt like a 10-year economic expansion is very unprecedented. What
type of fall have we gone through? Because
we have 14.8% unemployment right now. 14 point. What is the 14 point something?
Something like that. Over 14.
But then you got to remember one thing: the underemployment rate, which is the one I look at a lot, which is called U6, is 22 and some percent.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It factors in people who've actually left the labor force, people who have. It's basically all people who are they're either not working full-time hours.
Now, this unemployed, is this 18 to 65 people?
I don't know what the number is. I actually don't know the exact number.
Okay.
I probably should know that, but I don't.
I'm assuming it doesn't. I
think it's anybody actively looking for a job. I mean, obviously, that's a good question. I don't know what it is.
I see. So
I don't know what it is.
Is it those who are
So
filing for unemployment?
That's the reason why
Who are unemployed?
the regular unemployment rate is a little misleading, because if you stop looking for a job just because you're like, listen, this isn't working out for me, I'm just going to stay home,
Yes.
they take you out of the numbers. So it makes the unemployment rate look better.
I see.
U6 does not do that. U6 is all about who's underemployed, who's given up, etc.
People who cannot work, wheelchair bound.
No, I don't know about. I think it's the exact numbers. All I know is that U6 is during good times, the gap between unemployment and the U6 is much lower. During bad times, it's much bigger. But right now, we have the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression.
Okay. How far has the quote unquote economy fallen? Because I hear all these numbers.
So in the first quarter, we went down 4.8%.
What is that? It sounds like little to me.
That's a lot, because we had over half a quarter of good economic growth, of a good economy.
I see.
This whole COVID thing didn't happen until
February 19th was still the highest.
Yeah, February 19th was the highest in the stock market, so it still was late in the game. I'm looking at, so I think they were expecting a 4% drop in GDP, and they got 4.8 or 4.2, and they got 4. The bottom line is the GDP number was worse. You look at unemployment. I remember when in 08 and 09, it felt worse for some reason to me.
More sudden, or this is incredibly sudden?
Oh, this is way more sudden.
Okay.
In 08, 09, our worst job losses were like 600,000-700,000 a month, a week.
Mm-hmm.
We've had multiple weeks of millions.
Multiple millions, yeah.
Yeah, so I look at it going like, but for some reason, I don't know why 08, 09. Maybe 08, 09 felt worse to me because it was the first time I'd seen a really bad recession. Could that be it?
Okay.
How do you feel about this?
I was in school during the first
That's
recession.
why I'm asking. How do you feel about this one right now?
Well, I have conversations where I call you and I call Mo, who's heavy into stocks, and I'm still, after hundreds of episodes here, I'm still trying to relate the idea of how the economy and the stock market are tied in, because I said to you sort of in jest prior to starting this podcast is you're wrong, is that the economy, the stock market doesn't care what happens.
It's incredible.
Simply won't fall.
So my buddies all joke with me about when I said that coronavirus didn't cause the stock market collapse. And they're like, oh, it didn't cause the collapse. I'm like, listen, it was the trigger. I get it. But stock market, and then now I sit there and say, guys, here's the proof in my statement. How much worse has coronavirus gotten since the market started going back up again? It's 10 to 20, 30 times worse than it was before. And the market's on this massive upshoot from a low of 2180 or something like that to now we're at 2940 on the S&P. I mean, it's 30-some% growth. Rebound.
What, I don't understand.
I don't understand either.
How patient? I know you're always going to say,
as patient as I need to be.
What if it never falls, Paul? You're going to sit here looking like an idiot for the next 20 years?
Seth, my brother is 30 years old.
Go on.
And he says the same things to me. Mo says the same things to me. Mo is 31 years old. And you know what I tell him? You've never experienced a downturn, so of course you don't understand what a downturn is like. It will happen. It always does.
Unless
what?
They pump money into...
It doesn't matter. It'll eventually still fall.
I can't believe you're going to sit and wait this long.
What else would I going to do?
Did we miss the bottom out, Paul? Is it already on the rise?
No. But what else am I going to do? If I thought stocks were overpriced at 3,300 when the economy was good, now we have 14% unemployment and a contracting economy, and you're going to tell me I think it's a better buy now because it's 10% lower?
Almost 82,000 deaths now.
Yeah. We had how many deaths on March? When did the stock market start rebounding? March 20th?
I don't know the numbers. I should. I host a podcast. But the point is, I drive around and see all the empty parking lots of all the businesses.
Isn't it incredible? It's a ghost town out there.
The billions, if not trillions of dollars that are not being spent by anybody.
But yet stocks are still up.
Tell me.
I know. Stocks are up since March 20th. That's my point. It's irrational.
The argument I've heard is that it's not irrational, that stocks are future looking.
Okay.
So when you say that 40% of Disney is revenue coming in from the people attending their parks and it hasn't been open for 2 months, someone might say, yeah, but Disney's still a real strong company, and I'm planning for it to in the future. That's why Disney's going up.
From what, though?
From what you think is an already elevated number,
so
overpriced number.
let's understand this correctly. 3 months ago when I said Disney was overpriced and they factored in the future, it didn't factor in Corona.
Yeah.
So when Corona happens with an unknown outcome, using your logic, and by the way, I believe that in the future, not now, will be a good time to buy very good companies at depressed prices. Because people over exaggerate. Remember one thing, people react to what they see. And what do they see right now? Stocks going back up again, even though Corona is making big waves. Oh, well, everything's fine then. Okay, fine. At some point, though, these numbers are going to start coming in, and all of a sudden you have earnings on the S&P dropping in half. You're telling me stocks are still going to be worth, based on what their logic was to why stocks should be at 3,300, using that same logic, stocks should be at 1,600. But no, what are they going to say? Oh, no. We're going to ignore that. We're going to look at the future. Oh, so they just changed the story based on what they need to do to justify the price they want. That's it. What has not changed? My outlook on where stocks should be. I'm not changing my outlook based on coronavirus. I still said S&P should be 12 to 1,400, whatever it should be.
Yeah.
Have you heard me say it should be 700 now because of Corona? No. I'm like, no, I still think it should be 12, 13, 1,400.
Well, I guess, like I said, I had a conversation with Mo, and he's saying, well, what if Trump doesn't want the market to go down until he gets reelected? So they're just going to pump fake money into it.
Where was he when stocks went from 3,300 down? S&P went from 3,300 down to 2,180.
Well, they pumped him. Aren't the news reports they're pumping trillions of dollars into the market?
Why didn't he? What was he doing to stop the drop? They did pump money in the markets when the drop was happening, right? How did that do? But it still kept going down.
Oh.
It still kept going down.
Okay, but now it's back up.
Now it's back up. Great. So what's the reason for that? Money being put in the market? Then again, I brought the comment of, but then what happened when it was going from 3,300 to 2,100, 2,180? There's always a justification, and people always worry about pumping money in the market will help temporarily. It's not gonna. You can't avoid the problems because we're still borrowing money to pay for this thing. I know it sounds weird, but I look at it going, to me, it sounds so asinine to say I can have my cake and eat it too.
Speaking of asinine, I keep, I'm on Facebook way too much. I do have a business, so I have to share on a daily basis, and that's definitely helped my business. But the amount of people that I can't say it enough, and tell me why I'm wrong. The amount of people who are so not to get too political, but anti-Bernie, anti-socialist, those socialist bastards, are just proclaiming their wins with unemployment, the handouts. I haven't seen a single person other than yourself decline to take these handouts. Am I wrong? Am I thinking it's just a weird way for someone to be so against government aid and then just be celebrating the handouts they're getting from the government?
It's hypocrisy.
Okay, good.
It's hypocrisy.
Because, the loudest flag bearers in One Direction literally are posting today, I feel like Christmas, I finally got my unemployment checks.
It's hypocrisy.
So, weirdly enough, Beth and I, besides the government money that they put into our accounts, we didn't file for any unemployment, either of us.
You tried to, though.
Tried to.
But you're not. I don't
was
hear
not
you
successful.
I don't hear you screaming from the rooftops saying this is terrible. Government shouldn't be there. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, like I said, there's hypocrisy on both sides. On this podcast in the past, I've been much more about the socialist and far left, even though mini left being much more hypocritical. I get that, but yeah, it's still on both sides. It's just like there's hypocrisy on both sides.
I heard someone say.
By the way, it bothers me immensely from a business and investing standpoint when I see business people. Our real estate is having a great month.
Mm-hmm.
February, we actually, when the Corona thing started, our portfolio's occupancy has gone up. We went from 10% vacancy to 4% vacancy right now.
Could it be people moving out of expensive places?
And that's my argument. That's why I always tell people don't buy high-priced Class A properties. Because when downturns happen, people are going to be like, maybe we should go to lesser ones. Our collections right now are 13% higher this month than last month. We dipped in April from March. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't dip from February to March. But April, we had a dip. But when we factored in how much of a discount, we gave people a discount. Said, listen, if you pay on the first of the month on time, and you've always paid on time, 20% reduction. Add that back in, and we were only down like 6% in collections. So I look at that saying, This promotes what I was saying. If you run a good business, if you run a good investment, you don't need the market to determine. If you're telling me, oh man, the economy has hurt me, it's like, well, okay. The economy hurt you or you hurt you?
Yeah, I was watching some sort of thing about the system of wealth, and they were talking about how the idea that I still think many Americans think that this not only is the money everlasting, but I think some people, it was really eye-opening. I have two viewpoints from this. They were saying that people in the middle class think that there's an infinite amount of money.
People, the rich, think there's an infinite amount of money.
And specifically, greedy, wealthy people are taking...
What's the difference?
Are taking more of it.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Noted.
So, but really it was sort of trying to champion people into thinking that the money's out there. You just have to go work and make it.
You know who Adam Carolla is?
I do.
So he's funny.
Yeah.
He wrote a book that I started last night about him running for president and his ideas. And he's like, I'm told I'm a right-wing nut job and I'm racist. But it's funny. He talks about, all these candidates they campaign on, I'm going to be here for you. Why? Why should you be here for me? Why can't I be here for myself? Right?
Yeah.
We're not promoting the candidates who say, be here for yourself. I'm just here to make sure everybody stays clear of you so you can do what you do best. It's funny. You ask everybody on an individual level, are you a hard worker? Absolutely. Ask them another question. Do you want the government to be there for you? Absolutely. It's like, well, if you're a hard worker and you work well, why should you need any help? Why?
The proof was in the pudding. I almost challenged myself. So obviously I haven't gotten paid from taking a camera and pointing it at a person in like 3.5 months.
Although you had a wedding this weekend, right?
Yeah. A very small 7-person wedding in the backyard. But I haven't made any money from that. And so I actually picked up a sales gig.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is...
one of your partners?
Yeah, one of my partners is their chemical company has pivoted, the new verb of the year.
That's been a verb for the last 20 years.
Into making hand sanitizers. And he's like, hey, I need help selling this. Now look, I wouldn't say I'm a salesman, but I know how to get the ball rolling in terms of a company, which, by the way, we should have a whole podcast about DGF, the new company.
Did you, by the way, Darnell texted you that
I got him. He's good.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically, I had to create a business for hand sanitizers.
In a day.
In a day.
Yeah.
And I told Beth, I said, I want to see if I can create a completely new, legitimate business in one single day.
Of course you can.
I didn't even start till 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
You still got it done.
And by the end of the day, full website with Gmail integration. Not like this company at Gmail, but like Seth at this company.
Yeah.
Okay. Which isn't a small task. I mean, some major companies still don't have this. All social media sites, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, with content, all linked to my website, with a purchasing page set up through Square, all of this in one day. Now, it took money, Paul. It took money.
How much?
I'd say about $600.
Oh, peanuts. $600.
But the point is, it takes money to make money, Paul. And so the caveat is...
Does it take money to make money? Go ask Damon John about his hustle from the back of his truck. Back of his car selling T-shirts.
I guess the point is...
Anybody can make money.
Do you think... Now, look. Maybe I'm someone who's been
$600. How many overtime hours at McDonald's you have to work to make $600?
I have no idea.
A week. 40 extra hours.
A week.
I look if it's overtime. So I look at it saying anybody can save $1,000. Anyone can.
I guess, it's funny I say that is, I would say, well, it's hard. And I realize, well, they're paying $100 for the phone and $100 for cable. So we're a quarter of the way, less, we're a fifth of the way there.
Per month, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So 5 months into it, you're done.
But, I mean, I guess would say...
The bottom line is, if you want something bad enough, you'll go do it.
That's just what I did in one day.
Well, by the way, and I know you, so you have kids, you have a wife, so that 1 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, it was probably actually 3 or 4 hours of actual work, but your distractions and everything like that,
yeah.
And the kids, were probably 6 hours of that. Having dinner, probably texting me.
By the next day, I was making sales.
Listening to Darnell Rockman and I talk about everything.
So I bring that up because, like... I never thought I could ever do that. Just make a whole business in one day.
And then someday, if you made $10 million from it, you're the evil, greedy business person.
Now, the other caveat, which I've heard, let me just stop you there. The other thing that I've heard is wealthy people like yourself convince normal people like me that you're right. And that way you can keep your money train going. And if you can get people like me on your side, or let alone me blaming other people, then you now have middle class.
How's it any different than the other way around?
Let me finish. Okay. Then you have middle class people championing. I keep using this stupid verb. I don't know why, but you have middle class people believing in your idea of how things should be run, even though I'm never actually going to get there.
Well, you can get there if you want. There's a difference between being able to do something and actually doing it. We're all able to do things. We're all able. Look at investing.
Go on.
I always tell people the numbers part of investing is the easy part. That's the easy part. I can teach a monkey to do that. The hard part's the discipline. So you think I'm a thorough investor, right?
Thorough.
My friend Gary, who teaches me investing, he always says I'm not thorough enough. I send him my analysis on stocks. I just sent him Southwest yesterday. And I joked with my friend Mo and my friend Mr. Moskal. I said, he's going to tell me I didn't go deep enough. Sure enough, today, in a nicer way, he said, you didn't go deep enough. And I wrote back, I said, so, ... you're telling me I didn't go deep enough. He goes, it's a great start. And he put a wink face. The easy part's the numbers. And even that's hard, but the hard part is the discipline. The hard part is sitting there saying, stocks went from 2180 to 2930, and I'm still sitting there saying I'm not going to buy in. And you're like, Paul, what if you're just wrong forever? Okay.
How long can you miss out?
Forever.
Well, you can because you have money, right? You don't need much more.
And that's why I tell people you shouldn't invest like me. You should save.
I see.
My chess coach and I think he's going to listen to this conversation. We got in our very rare arguments because I did that bash session of the Bogleheads. I talk about there's a difference between investing, saving, and speculating. I believe 99.9% of people should be savers, which means you shouldn't care about valuations. You shouldn't care about anything. You should just save every single month in broad-based funds and not worry about it for the rest until you retire. That's saving. Investing is a process. Investing is a process of understanding what you're buying, understanding the value of what you're buying relative to the price. That's investing. That's a very, very difficult thing because of the emotional aspect of it and the discipline aspect of it. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
I tell anybody who wants to learn, let's teach you. Gary does it for free. I've tried to pay Gary. Gary, let me pay you for your time. No. Just take it seriously. Holy cow, really, Gary? Yes. And what's his way of weeding people out? He gives us a stat called security analysis, his book this thick, and says, read it. And he goes, yeah, I found out pretty quick who's serious or not. Right? So when I hear people, the same way they say you're trying to get a champion out of the middle class, they're trying to get a champion out of the poor and middle class, saying those people are the reasons why you're not doing well.
Yeah.
You know, I follow some atheist things on Instagram, but a lot of times it'll be these socialists who come on and say capitalism is evil and all that stuff. And they always say it'll say things now like, look, this is proof that capitalism is evil. I'm like, really? This is the proof that capitalism is evil? I was like, because I'm quite sure you look at all the history of socialism and literally it never led to anything besides persecution, poverty, and all these things. I'm like, capitalism has at least done better for the vast majority. Socialism's only gone well for the absolute smallest of minorities. So look at it going, okay. I mean, listen, make us out to be evil. That's fine. Just takes a matter of time. I sold my big property in Shaker 2 years ago, right?
Oh yeah.
And now it's doing terrible. The property is overgrown. It's weeds. People text me and email me like, oh my God, Paul, this is so sad. And there's two women that I stayed rather close to in terms of I got to know them and I love them. They're huge liberals, but I love them. So the other day I said to them, guys, I just came by the property. It's Lisa and I drove by the properties 2 weeks ago. Seth, it was awful. Burned down. There was one building that was burnt. They have plywood in place. I mean, they're completely ignoring it. I hear the occupancy is like less than 60, maybe 50%. A lot of squatters, people urinating and pooping in the halls.
This is your office or Shaker?
Zing. Okay. I haven't used those in a while.
Go on.
So I said to them, I'd love to be able to buy these properties back. The problem is the property taxes. Oh, well, Paul, it's for the schools. Okay, great. It's for the schools. But that's why I'm not there right now. The only person, you guys are all these big, left wing, let's go help these people, but you're not buying it. I'm the one buying it. And I'm telling you, I sold because of property. That's the literal reason why I sold, because of property taxes. It's all great for the schools, but nobody asked the questions, well, how good are Shaker schools? They're rated. The rating has gone down. I don't think that's because of the schools, whatever it is. But if you look at the cost to educate a student in the Shaker schools versus a private school student versus even other top-rated public schools, it's insanely high. I remember like 5-6 years ago, it was like $19,000 a student.
Okay.
Look at that saying, that's all great and dandy. Complain all you want. It's all about this. But at the end of the day, you have somebody willing to spend money who said, I cannot spend this money because of this one issue.
Atlas shrugged.
That's the way I look at it. I shrugged. I sat there 2 years ago and said, guys, I'm done. The tax rate keeps going up. My other services for me are going down. It doesn't make sense for me anymore. It's costing me money. Because as much as they sit there and say it's for the schools, when I went around, everybody's saying, guys, I need to raise rents because of the school. Oh, we can't do that.
The literal argument I've heard is when you say all that, someone would say, well, you'll be fine. You have so much money.
Great. And I am. And guess what? Your area is worse because of it. I am fine. I moved on. I sold. I gave you guys what you wanted. I gave you guys a fellow thinker like you guys, because that's who bought it, was a fellow liberal.
Oh.
And what did he do? The property is now half full, is in shitty condition, has worse tenants, and the rents are lower. I gave them what they wanted. Yes, I'll be fine. And that's what I did. I sold and I was fine. You're right. I was fine. And you guys are worse off because you didn't make an incentive for me to stay in the area.
I guess
You're right. 100%. You're right. I am fine.
I guess
my check is sitting in my bank account and I'm going to live life great. And you guys are going to suffer because you didn't give the person who was able to write that check the reason to still write that check.
And I think...
Do you see what I'm saying, though, Seth?
Well, I guess, yes. And
just like in the world, if we keep taxing, Paul, you'll be fine. Yes. And then when I stop all my businesses and you call me greedy, why do we always get on this topic? By the way, I like the topic, but I don't want to be the angry person. But I sat there and said, what you just said is exactly the point. Paul, you'll be fine.
I think the fine would be is that you just keep the property and make not as much.
Great. And guess what? That is when we have problems. And what we said in previous
episodes. Listen, saying it out loud makes no sense that someone would keep the property, make less money, and put more work into it.
Because if I asked them to do that, these same people asked me for my advice on a real estate deal, and I said it was a terrible deal. And did they invest? No. Why? Because it didn't make them enough money. Mm-hmm. So they're holding themselves in the typical liberal way. I hold you to a different standard than I hold myself. Also right-wing way, just like abortion, just like all these things. I got it. You're very valid. But when it comes, money is always easier. Money's everybody has money issues. Everybody has to deal with money. Everybody in the world has to deal with money. Even if you're in a social, you still have to deal with money, right? So I look at that saying, you're right. I would be fine making less money, but I have other opportunities elsewhere. So as an American, I can go invest in a much more tax-friendly and business-friendly state and make more return. I will go do that.
I bring this up because I do like John Oliver. I think he's funny.
Yeah.
He obviously has a leftist approach to viewing the president.
Listen, the hard part about the president is the right-wingers hate there's right-wingers who hate the president. So it's kind of like a...
But last night's story was on, or 2 nights ago was on the U.S. Postal Service.
Oh, what a scam.
That's your first sentence?
Why are we financially supporting a money-losing venture when there's other private enterprises that prove they can do it better and more efficiently for less cost?
Less cost?
Maybe not less cost, but I don't know. When you ship something overnight, where do you go?
You might not ship a lot, but FedEx and UPS are drastically more expensive than
do you have
the
a business
United
account?
States Postal Service. No, but for normal people, 300 million Americans without a business account.
But they still do it. Why do they still do it?
Well, they make a lot of money, which was part of the story as well, is because they charge upwards of double what the United States Postal Service does.
Is that a fact?
Well, I mean, ship anything and look at the two places. It's usually not even a comparison. Now, certain things have to go UPS, a larger crate, but regardless.
So why do we expect the government to work? Go ahead.
The Postal Service.
By the way, relatively, it doesn't even lose a ton of money. It was like $10 billion in a year or something like that. Maybe it's not even that much.
Well, the point is, apparently some weird law which limited the United States Postal Service was enacted in the mid-90s. And
I had no idea.
Prior to that, they were making great money and everything was wonderful.
I don't think they started losing money until recently.
That's correct.
10 or 15 years.
He shows a graph of like literally the law. 1 year they make $800 million in profit. The next year minus $4 billion. And it's been a down ever since.
And by the way, can I make a comment?
Go on.
I don't expect them to make money, but don't lose a ton of money. Figure out a way to break even. If you're a service for the people, figure out a way to break even.
Okay, so, and if you watch the show, which you probably won't, but John Oliver says, he posts a clip from Trump, and Trump says the United States Post Office is a joke. They need to raise their prices by 4x to compete with UPS, and they're losing money on every package they deliver, so they should just raise all the prices. And John Oliver says, well, raising prices is not going to help the 300 million Americans who use the United States Postal Service.
So just like taxes, raising the prices doesn't help things sometimes. Thank you, John Oliver. I agree with you. Thank you, John Oliver. I do agree with you.
Well, there you go.
I mean, listen.
They're saying it might not last the year. The United States Postal Service.
I don't know about that.
They've cut hundreds of thousands of jobs since they started losing money, and they can't make it.
I don't know about that. All I know is, though, if I want to get something done fast, where do I go? I don't go to the Postal Service.
Yeah.
When I want to ship something fast, like in terms of like I need to get in and out, I don't go to the Postal Service. And yes, you're right. I have a business account, and it's cheaper. I mean, it's a lot cheaper.
Oh, okay. Well,
the price gets cut drastically by having a business. So maybe I
have multiple businesses, so I should figure that out.
Yeah, you might want to.
We use our business account for.
And by the way, I've never done an apples to apples comparison. All I know is I think to myself, when has the government ever done anything better than the private enterprise? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that if a private enterprise was in charge of postal service, it'd probably be cheaper.
Yeah,
is my guess.
It was an interesting 20-minute show about something. But so I always think about our producer Don and how he names these shows, and we've been a little all over the place. But I want to get back to the idea that, with all this said, I still don't understand. So I guess I should be listening to you, as I shouldn't be waiting for this huge dip to buy into some of my more sought after stocks with some of the money I have sitting around.
What sought after stocks do you have?
Not many, just a few. Some gold, some Amazon.
Did you see Tesla, by the way? He wants to leave California.
You know, I study podcasts, and I saw Elon Musk on Joe Rogan, and he is so mind-numbingly boring.
Elon Musk is?
Do you have people in your life, like, I'll ask you a question.
Look who's asking.
Literally to the point of, like, how are you? And you have to be like, how am I? Let me think about that.
No, I would never allow that anymore in my life.
I guess I'm good.
Is that what he does?
I have people in my life that act like this.
You do?
Sometimes.
When we're off the podcast, I'll ask you who.
Well, Elon Musk is one of them.
He's not in your life.
He is now. I'm not saying. I'm just relating it to some people in my life, and I'm like, so I brought this back to, you ready for this? You analyze your sentences very carefully.
Too much.
And you analyze other people's sentences very carefully.
Yeah, it's why need intense therapy.
Go on. And at times, we have gotten in arguments because you said, wait a minute, you said this. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I meant.
By the way, and I'm okay with that if you explain what you meant.
Okay, but hear me out.
But here's what you'll do. Paul, I do not want to go to the grocery store. Hey, Seth, you said I don't want to go. Yeah, but I didn't mean I did not want to go to the grocery store.
Here's the point. Here's the point.
Yes.
Is if we all were versions of you, Elon Musk,
Are you comparing me to Elon Musk?
If we overanalyze what we're saying, it finally came to me is I'd rather have someone who just talked to me like a real person.
I talk to you like a real person, you dick.
But not like Elon, where like Elon literally cannot get just watch the show. He analyzes his words down to the point where he just confuses himself.
I think you over-dramatize my whole, like, when it comes to important factors, yes. Okay. But if you're like, hey, Paul, come around 7. I'm not going to tell you, well, you said 7. I'm like, no, I'm sitting there saying.
You really have it ingrained in my mind that if you're 1 minute late, I hate these people. Like, listen, anyone who's late,
it's bad for me. Like, I literally get in a bad mood. And I'm like, why are we having this meeting now if somebody's going to be, it's like, it's so, I was at the dentist the other day. I go to the dentist.
Go on.
I needed work done. And I was already opposed to this work being done. So I come up to the door. It's a 3 o'clock appointment. I'm there at 2:50. 2:45. I'm there at 2:45. I go to the door. It's locked. The lady comes up. She's like, hey, we already have a patient in here. You can't come in here. Meanwhile, there's 8 other people in there besides, the patient and like 7, not 8 people. Maybe it's like 5 people from the office. It's like, go to your car. We're going to be 10 minutes late. I'm like, so 3:10. She's like, yeah. So 3:23, I'm texting my group. I'm not in here yet. This is terrible. What's going on? I give them to, so somebody said to me, give them to 3:30. Wow. 3:25, they came out and got me. So I'm already grumpy. So I have to go into this thing. Luckily, they're very nice people, and they turned it around, and they convinced me to do the work I needed done. But the whole point was I was literally going to, like, shit a brick at this thing.
I mean, if they're like 1 minute late for like a phone meeting, I'm like, I'm sitting here waiting for you. You've ingrained this to me.
Do you think this is because of me?
Absolutely. I mean, I live with a woman who progressively makes us later and later in life for everything.
Every woman's like that. Yes, I intended to say that. Every woman was like that.
No, like it's just like, so now I'm trying to ingrain with her that like, yeah, being late actually matters to some people.
But it's not even to some people. It matters to everybody. If every single time you sent a bill out, everybody was 30 days late.
Yeah.
What would you'd be like, oh, cool, but your mortgage is due in a certain time.
Let's get back to it. When do you think the economy will react to all of this? Now, again,
you know what I love about our podcast, though? The fact that we go, I'm like, this is how we talk.
The stock market.
You're ignoring me.
And the economy, again, I go back to the question I asked before. How are they related? Because someone would say, well, the market's not reacting to the economy.
In the long run.
The stock market's not reacting.
There's an old saying by Ben Graham, and Warren Buffett always repeats this. In the short run, stocks are a voting machine. In the long run, they're a weighing machine. So in the short run, it's about popularity. Who wants the motion, momentum, yada, yada, yada. In the long run, it's about the substance behind it. Eventually, the value and substance behind it will come to fruition.
But for someone like me, I should probably just keep pumping money into my mutual fund, most likely when it's low.
Low-cost funds that will buy the market as a whole.
Yeah, okay.
You know, we have this Bloomberg machine. It allows us to backtest. And of course, people hate backtesting. There's a proper argument for backtesting. Backtesting is basically pick some strategy, go test it back 25 years, see how it did. Now people say, oh, that's bullshit. Okay, great. My comment is, yeah, it's bullshit if you sit there and say, let's go see the NFC or AFC won the Super Bowl. How does it affect stocks? There's no correlation there.
Sure.
But if you look at things that matter.
Tell me.
Now, one thing I did figure out is the S&P 500, when you buy it, you're basically buying a weighted average. So the higher price, the more market, the more valuable a company is, you're going to own more of that company, right? Because it's worth a bigger chunk of the S&P.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you buy all the stocks equally, you tend to outperform the market based on the last 25 years. And the reason being, the idea behind that is smaller companies have more likely to grow and bigger companies are less likely to grow. So why should you buy more of bigger companies, buy more of the smaller ones? It's intuitive. It makes sense. You have 500 companies then. I don't think you're going to do worse. Just go do that. Mm-hmm. Yes, 500 companies is very expensive to own. I get that. But figure out some way. Just buy low-cost ETFs. Just keep doing that.
What do you mean low cost?
Like ones that don't have a lot of fees.
Oh.
Or they don't have expense ratios are very low.
I see.
Your job is just to match as close to the market as you can. That's all you're going to do. You don't have the time to put the work in to figure out which one's going to... Like, listen... I think my abilities to beat the market are there. Gary's is astronomical. Like he can beat by a lot more than I can. I'm not trying to beat by 10% a year. I'm trying to beat by 2, 3, 4% a year on the high side. Mm-hmm. That's going to take time.
Yeah.
But your job is not to do that. You're not putting that time in. You're not putting that time in to figure out what are the right things to do.
Well, if I want to be wealthy, though, I got to make some moves.
Well, I think you can do that with your businesses.
Yeah.
You're going to be wealthy doing what you do well, what you know best, and what you do best.
Okay.
That's what I do with investing. If I don't know it, I don't even waste my time with it. Like commodities business. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I watched another Dave Ramsey podcast. I do like him as a person. He seems like a nice guy I'd love to just chat with, but...
You don't have to apologize for that.
He was talking about... Yeah, I guess so. He's just, I know that you and him disagree on some things, but the funny part is he talks about his baby steps of savings. And Paul, he's literally saying like this lady and her husband call in and tell this story about how they make $250,000 a year. They owe $500 on their house, no debt. They're doing great. They save 15% in their retirement. She calls in and says they're 30.
Wow.
She calls in and that's what he said. Congratulations. And she calls in and says, we have about an extra $50,000 in just money per year that we're not.
Extra 50?
Yeah.
In their checking account per year.
That's what they said. He was baffled too. I guess they live so she says, should I invest this in my retirement? Should I get into some real estate? And he says no. He says pump that 50 grand into your house for the next 10 years till you're 40. Then at 40, you'll have this massive weight off your back of not having the house payment. And I'm thinking, what do you think about that?
I don't think it's terrible. Remember,
it goes back to that sentence of...
I do think they should put it into their retirement accounts.
Well, it goes back to...
what's their interest rate on their house?
Exactly. I mean...
3.2.
I would assume.
3.5. High side 4. So you're giving yourself a 4% return on 50 grand a year. You're 30. You don't need to retire for another 40 years. You're going to get 8 to 10% return if you buy low-cost ETFs. So you're essentially... You want me to tell you what you're... Oh, my God. It's
Why does he tell people to do that?
Because he has... I mean, listen, do you want my cynical answer?
Go on.
He has a spiel. Remember one thing though, what works for every if to them, if their comment is we really hate having this mortgage, then yes.
She wasn't like that though. It sounded like she was interested in maybe getting into some real estate, and
I think the worst case she should do is put half that money towards her retirement accounts because they're tax deductible, they're tax free, and they're untouchable by creditors. So if she fucks everything up, they can't take that money. Maybe the other half, if she wants to get into real estate, if she wants to, dabble. Take that 25 grand and buy a $100,000 property. Where does she live?
Oh, I didn't get all those stats, but I mean,
Listen, Dave Ramsey has a spiel. He sells his books, and a big part of it is get out of debt, all debt, house debt too.
Yeah. Great,
more power to him. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's wrong financially. If you're 60, if you're 50, it's not wrong. If they were 50, and depending on the situation, and they didn't have much, I'd be like, okay, maybe you should pay that off. They're 30.
I know.
Good God.
So much time.
So much
compounding
time.
interest.
Let me tell you what that 30 grand, what that 50 grand.
Do the math again. Because I had
see.
another conversation with a guy, and he's like, yeah, I want to pay off my house. I was like, hey, that sounds great. Did you know that you're paying yourself a 3% return? What do you mean? Because like the whole
world.
What
do you mean?
The whole world. Paul walked in today. We hadn't seen each other in a while. He just puts his arms out, puts his head down. How about a hug?
How about a hug?
You did it perfect, though, bro.
40 years. 40 years.
Okay, go on.
40 years.
Of compounding interest.
At 9%.
That's
$50,000 a year.
What is the number?
$16.9 million. Now, they put it towards their house.
They're going to pay their house off in 10 years.
I'd have to do the math. But I guarantee it's not more than $1 million or $2 million extra in the next 40 years. Maybe 3. Call it 5.
No, do the math.
Oh, I can't because I have to sit there and figure out, all right, how much are they saving on their mortgage payment in 10 years and then multiply and then do that for 30 more. It's all these things you have to figure out. But I guarantee it's lower. Unless their house appreciates by 8% a year or something. I guarantee it's lower.
Lower?
Yeah, it's way lower.
How much lower?
My guess is if it was an astronomical difference, it's maybe on the highest of high sides, $10 million. So it's $7 million lower.
$7 million?
I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure it's way lower. If we sat there, if we had a computer right here where I could do Excel, it would take me about 10 minutes, but not 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I'd figure it out though.
Yeah, because they would pump all that 50 into their house over the next 10, and then now they're at 40. Now, theoretically, they might make more money and have more money.
All the more reason not to pay off their house, but go ahead.
And then they have a paid off house, and now they're 40 trying to do something with their money. They've just missed out on.
What do they do for a living?
I don't know. I'll let you watch it. It's interesting. All right.
$16.9 million at 9%.
It's a lot of money.
Let's go to 7%. Let's say it's even lower. I mean, 7% is going to be a lot lower. That was probably going to be like 8 or 9 million.
Sounds like a shit ton of money.
It's still a lot of money.
Especially starting at 30.
Yeah.
Dead air is good on a podcast, Paul.
It's $10 million still. Hey, why don't you fucking talk? You're the host.
I know. I know.
Jesus Christ.
Subscribe below on YouTube.
What was this episode about?
This is about all the ins and outs that go into the economy and why it's not shifting. Why the whole world is crumbling around us and stocks are going up. And I can't figure it out, neither can you.
And don't hate rich people, guys. And rich people don't hate poor people.
Good point.
Did we talk about that whole thing where I talked about when I said businesses should fail?
We've mentioned it, yeah. They're not going to, though. A bunch of bailouts are going to occur, right? Just hand out free money we don't have. Because it's there, Paul. They're just, right? The rich people are just taking it.
So I guess they're working on another stimulus package.
Tell me about it.
All I've heard is Pelosi is working on another stimulus package, and Trumpsters is saying, let's pump the brakes here, which I'm actually surprised he's saying that.
Mm.
I'm sure it'll get passed.
Isn't there an election in like 3 months or something?
Isn't that incredible?
What the hell's going to happen?
The election's November
2 or 9, one of those days usually.
second Tuesday of November.
Yeah, our first.
Is it first Tuesday? How's that possible then? How's it could be the 9th? It couldn't be the 9th then.
No, I'm wrong maybe. Yeah. No,
I think it is the first though.
Okay. Who do you think Biden's going to pick?
There's talk of Michelle Obama.
I just think that's just like people on Facebook saying it.
I think so too.
Yeah. That doesn't mean she actually wants to get back in.
I've heard Hillary.
What? Wow. Whoever it is, I'm sure you'll be voting for them. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on Learn From Us podcast.
I will not be voting in this election.
If you need a business consultant, which, boy, oh boy, Paul, I keep talking to people and they're running businesses and they don't have someone like you in their life letting them know how to like grow.
I need me in my life.
Yeah. Subscribe below. YouTube. Learn from us. The subscribers are going up. The viewers are going up. Finally, people are listening to your gibberish.
My bullshit. Can I
Go on.
Can I pat myself in the back real quick?
Don't hurt yourself.
We're finding more real estate deals.
Interessante.
Yeah, but we still think it's a ways away from. Even our bankers are like, listen, we think people are surviving right now, but
so someone like me with a little bit of extra money, I shouldn't get in on this.
I think you should start looking. I think there'll be good times ahead.
I have some stories about you. I have some interesting stories
about me.
No, I would like to share with you.
Would you?
Off the record. All right.
We didn't finish our conversation about Waco, by the way.
Whose fault is it?
You know how much I don't believe the government when they say things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the government basically, the whole thing started where like basically
it's kind of a thing. I hate these religious cults and I hate the government. It's like, who am I picking here?
If you haven't watched Waco, that it's definitely very one-sided on the side of the Branch Davidians. That It was basically all of the government's fault and they weren't doing anything wrong besides banging 13-year-old women. Which
Lisa, and by the way, the funny part is Lisa's like, Paul, why did they go in there? They were just minding their own business. I'm like, Lisa, he had like 5 wives, 4 of which were 4. She's like, oh yeah. I'm like,
now I guess look, should we be drawing down with military tanks on a guy who's banging 5 teenagers? Apparently they did, but I mean I don't know if that's like the worst thing.
I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, that Clinton was quite upset with Janet Reno, almost to the point of physical altercation in the White House about the whole thing going down.
Well, yeah, if you watch it, you basically, when you're done watching, you're like, boy, why did they do that to those people, those poor people?
Well, then I look at those people saying, what the hell were you thinking about this guy? And the guy did lie twice and say he was going to come out. He didn't come out.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That was kind of bullshit.
Now, if they shot first, it's the old who shot first. If they shot first or who shot first, then I can understand the difference, but
yeah,
it was definitely a sad fiasco.
Lisa and I went driving this weekend looking at houses. We like doing that. We were near your house. I'm like, we should stop by and see. And then we're like, oh, but what if they're like, oh, you can't do that because of COVID?
We're cool, baby. That's a whole other topic of conversation we can't get into now.
And then I thought maybe you were making sweet love to the missus. But then I was like, no, we're only 2 minutes away. They'll be done by then.
Yeah. See, you know your stats real well. See how you analyze situations? You're very methodical.
Man, can we not wait to go back to Mexico? Has this not made it? Like, I literally the other day when I texted you guys, I'm like,
what if we can't go?
We'll go. January? Come on, we're going there.
Okay.
They're already starting flights back up. Rahman's wife's a flight attendant for Southwest, and she's gotten busier this month than last month.
Did you see the baseball schedule?
Yeah, 82 games.
No fans.
I know.
That's going to be weird. We have so much to talk about, which we will on further episodes. Thanks for watching the Learn From Us podcast with Seth and Paul. We're going to change our social media to a lot of our social media is very Paul heavy.
Hey, I've always said I want to change the name to be more Seth and Paul.
It's a very Paul heavy.
I don't like it being Paul heavy. You know that.
Well,
I get awkward about that.
You do.
I do.
I can't even ask you in public what the hell you even do. You're like, well, I'd rather not even talk about this.
Lisa always jokes with me about that. She hates it when I go, oh, I really don't. I don't do anything.
So I'll just stop doing that.
I basically said I'm retired now.
I'll just stop doing that. I'll just stop asking, what are you?
I'm sleeping in now.
Don't change the topic. We have to wrap up here. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends about us. Review the podcast on iTunes if you love us. Hell, if you've watched this far, you can click 2 buttons. And Paul will send you a check. Just text him.
Just text me.
1-900-MIX-A-LOT. That's his number.
Is your number still 911? Alrighty then.
Thanks for joining us, y'all. Learn from us. See you guys.
Bye.